All right, being 7 o'clock, we'll call the common council meeting to order. Please stand for the pledge of allegiance.
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Clerk, roll call has been taken.
Yes.
Thank you. Adoption of the agenda.
So moved, Your Honor, to adopt the agenda, Your Honor.
Second.
Motion made by Mr. Barrington, second by Mr. Haas. Any additions or corrections? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Belinda?
Aye.
Motion carried. Approval of 5/11/2023 Common Council in 5/22/2023 Special Common Council minutes. Motion.
So moved.
Who did that?
Second.
By Mr. Dorsey, seconded by Mr. Haas. Any additions or corrections to those? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Belinda?
Aye.
Motion carried by all. Authorization to pay the bills, Mr. Dorsey.
Yes, Your Honor. Make a motion of authorization to pay the bills in the amount of $734,153.09.
Motion been made by Mr. Dorsey, second by Mr. Shea. The amount of $734,153.09. Any additions or corrections to that amount? Please cast your ballots.
Linda, if you could voice vote, I will enter your vote. Aye.
Motion is carried by all. Public comment. Any public comment? No public comment. Hearing none, we will move right along to standing and special committees. We'll start off with the Board of Public Works. Mr. Hess.
Thank you, Your Honor. Board of Public Works held its monthly meeting Monday, June 5th, 2023. Meeting is called to order at 5:15. Public hearing for assessment for water laterals on Quincy Street from Wyman to Smith Street at 516. Public comment. Resident from Quincy Street questioned if or what the amount of money would be available towards the project through a grant. Jay Bissett from the utilities was unavailable to answer questions. Grant funding is available for the project, but the amount is unknown at this time because funding will be received after the project is completed. Public hearing will close at 5:20. Wastewater treatment update. Notes are included in the packet. We will be recommending to council later to approve the WWTP CMAR resolution. Motion was carried by all. Recommend to council the ordinance to create private lead water service replacement program. Jay Bissett, utility manager, explained that the committee, the ordinance was recommended to comply with the DNR regulations so they can change their lead services on the private side to the water meter. Ordinance is worded in such a way to cover the current or future materials deemed suitable for use. Motion carried by all. We're going to recommend to council later the final assessment resolution for water laterals on Quincy Street. Director Garski recommended approval of the final assessment resolution allowing the residents a payment period of 10 years at 1% option. Motion carried. Recommend to council and yet brush and yard waste agreement with the town of Muckwa. Director Garski recommended the agreement with the town of Muckwa be approved for the use of the yard waste site. The agreement will cost Muckwa $700 a month for site use. It will be in effect until January 1st, 2025. Motion carried by all. There was a discussion on adding a signalized intersection at West Wolf River Avenue and Shawano Street. Motion was made to leave the intersection as it was. Discussion on making St. John's Place one-way into newly constructed parking lot for 2023 and one-way on a section of Lincoln Court after construction. Director Garsky does not recommend making St. John's Place a one-way street, noting that is being narrow. Vehicles should slow down when oncoming traffic is present, and with the curb and road improvements, visibility will be improved. No motion was made. Discussion on parking fee for overnight parking on city property. Director Garsky brought up further discussion for fees to park on city property off-street. He spoke with Chief Schlueter about enforcement if they were implemented. Director Garsky also pointed out several question scenarios and how it would be handled. It was tabled for further meeting. Director's report. Anniversary date of Ivan Castrojohn, street operator, 2 years of service on June 14th. May 11th, sanitary force main break on Mill Street. Thanks to the United Utilities for assistance with the repairs. Wolf River Utility Relocation Project has been delayed until June 12th. Pre-construction meeting for North Water Street construction was on June 13th. Future agenda items discuss about large item disposal services. The July meeting will be scheduled for July 12th unless otherwise changed due to committee members' conflict. Meeting was adjourned. I'd recommend the council approval of the WWTP CMAR resolution.
Second.
Motion been made by Mr. Hess, second by Mr. Barrington. For approval of the WWTP CMAR resolution. Any further discussion? Please cast your ballots.
Aye.
That motion is carried 10-0.
Consider waiving the rules to adopt an ordinance upon once reading lead service replacement. Second.
Motion made by Mr. Haas, second by Mr. Herter. Any further discussion? Please cast your ballots.
Aye.
Motion's carried 10-0 as well.
Can-
Yes. To waive.
Consider improvement of an ordinance to create a private lead water service replacement program. Second.
Motion made, second by Mr. Ritchie for ordinance to create a private lead water service replacement program. Any further discussion? Please cast your ballots.
Aye.
That motion's carried 10-0.
Next, consider approval for the final assessment resolution for water laterals on Quincy Street.
Second.
Motion been made and seconded by Mr. Barrington for final assessment resolution for water laterals on Quincy Street. Any further discussion on that? Please cast your ballots.
Aye.
Motion carried 10-0.
Finally, consider approval for the brush agreement with the town of Muckwa. Second.
Motion made and seconded by Mr. Herter. Any further discussion on that? Please cast your ballots.
Aye.
Motion's carried 10-0 as well.
That's all I have, Your Honor.
Thank you, Mr. Hess. Moving along, finance and personnel, Mr. Dorsey.
Thank you, Your Honor. The Finance and Personnel Committee met Wednesday, June 7th, 5:15. Meeting was called to order by Vice Chairman Fache at 5:15. Motion was made by Roberts, seconded by Barrington to approve the agenda. City Clerk Nicole Ryerson informed the committee that an applicant was notified of the meeting. Police Chief Schlueter reviewed the flow chart that is used to make a decision to deny or approve a beverage operator's license when violations are disclosed. It was Chief Schlueter's recommendation to deny the beverage operator's license based on those guidelines. The committee concurred with Chief Schlueter's recommendation. City Clerk Nicole Ryerson presented the 2023 license list, highlighting changes from last licensing year. The motion was made by Roberts, seconded by Beaslaw to recommend to council approve of the license list. Administrator Hurth recommended a date extension for the Retzloff Development Agreement as there's been supply chain issues. The committee asked how much that would affect TID 4 district, and there's no significant change to the original plan project and increment estimates. Motion was made by Barrington and seconded by Roberts to recommend to council approval of a memorandum of understanding with Rain Grid LLC to modify the current project completion deadline to June 31st, 2024 in their existing developers agreement with the city of New London. Finance Director Radke reviewed the monthly finance reports. The director's report was discussed. With there being no further business, the motion was made by Barrington and seconded by Roberts to adjourn at 5:58. The next regularly scheduled finance committee meeting will be held in the council chambers on July 5th at 5:15. In council, consider approval of the annual license list.
Second.
Motion made and seconded by Mr. Roberts to approve the annual license list. I don't know if you've seen in your memos before the meeting, there was an extra 5 names that was sent out. Is that included in on that?
Yes,
So that would be included in on that motion.
yes.
Any other further discussion? All in favor, say aye.
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 Opposed? Motion carried by all.
Will we consider approval of a MOA for the Retzloff Development Agreement completion date extension?
Second.
Motion made by Mr. Dorsey, second by Mr. Barrington for MOU for Retzloff Development Agreement completion date extension. Any further extensions? Any further discussion? Please cast your ballots.
Aye.
That motion is carried 10-0.
Okay, come up and give a presentation, please.
Good evening, everyone. Harry Allen again with Ellers. Today, this morning at 10:30, we took bids for the bonds that were previously authorized last month. So now we received pricing from different underwriters today, and I have really good news that we got a lot of interest in the bonds. We had 6 bids. Anytime you see over 3 bids, it means there's a lot of interest in the market. So having 6 is really good, and they're all really, really tight to each other. And the final interest rate we got on the bonds today was 3.81, which is significantly lower than what we modeled the bonds at. We modeled them around 4.2%, because we had assumed that the Fed was going to have another 0.25% interest rate hike. That didn't happen. So it worked in the city's favor, where we've actually seen a drop over the last couple of weeks in rates. So this is a really good time to get to the market. Overall, we saw around a $230,000 or $205,000 savings from the initial runs. A few other things around the bonds. We did update the city's rating, and that was affirmed at A1. I'll get into that discussion a little bit more here in a minute. But pertinent to the bonds, they're closing July 12th. That's when the city will have those monies in hand. And we received what's known as a premium bid, which essentially means the underwriters paid you more money than the face value of your bonds. And so you can do 2 things with that. You can decrease the amount of debt you're issuing, and then there's a certain amount that has to go into the debt service fund. So that will buy down some of the debt service in the first couple of years. So with all that said, the total issue size was decreased to $3,385,000. So it's slightly different than what was on the agenda tonight. I did hand out a packet, so if we want to go through this really quick, there are just a few things I want to point out. Page 5, this is the same schedule that was shown to you last month. This is the projects that are being funded by the debt issue. So it's largely utility work, some parking lot construction. There's some fire equipment, some library. And the majority of this debt is being paid for by tax increment district number 5 revenues. So only a minor portion of the debt is actually hitting the property tax levy. And if we go to page 7, it says the updated principal and interest payments that will be made on the bond. So in the bottom right, in really tiny print, these are the changes from the initial run. So you can see there's 45,000 less of debt being issued. And then the interest savings, the interest is pretty close to what we had modeled, but because of that premium amount that's going into the debt service fund, we're actually showing around 160,000 less in interest payments over the term of the bonds for that 205,000 lower in total. Then going on to page 8, this is where we take the new debt added in with all the existing debt of the city and project out what the levy will be for debt service. And based on the amount that needs to be levied next year, we're showing that there could be a decrease in the debt service levy next year of around 60,000. Then chugging along to page 9, just to give everybody a reminder, the city has a pretty healthy use of the debt limit that's set by the state. So you're restricted to 5% of your total value to be outstanding as debt principal. With this debt issue at the end of the year, you will be at 49%. So under 50% means you're looking A-okay. Chugging along, we can get into a quick conversation on the rating. So on page 15, you don't have to flip there. I just want to make everybody aware, there's a scorecard that Moody's puts out where they will go through and do an analysis on all the different metrics of the city, and the scorecard will give you a rate. That scorecard indicated that the city is AA. Unfortunately, the committee didn't agree that the scorecard was 100% there yet. So they affirmed the city's rating at A1. I did have a discussion with the analyst at Moody's about what could cause some upward pressure here in the future. And I passed all that on to Chad and Judy. And a lot of it is outside of the city's control, but there's some smaller, finer items the city can't control, such as fund balance. And so if more focus is put on that in the next 3-5 years, we could see the city moving into that AA territory. But right now, you're about as high of an A1 as you can be. The last thing I'll say is that because of that change in the principal amount of the debt issue, the motion for tonight should be made for that updated principal amount of that $3,385,000. That's all I had for everyone. If you have questions around the debt, around the rating, or anything I just went over, I'm happy to take them.
Thank you, Harry.
Thank you.
Make a motion for consideration or approval of a resolution awarding the sale of $3,385,000 in general obligation corporate purpose bonds, series 2023A.
Second.
Motion been made and seconded by Mr. Fiche. Any further discussion? Please cast your ballots.
Aye.
That motion carried 10-0.
That is all I have, Your Honor.
Thank you, Mr. Dorsey. Next on the agenda is Park and Recreation, Mr. Bisa.
Thank you, Your Honor. Park and Rec meeting met on Tuesday, June 6, 2023. Meeting was called order at 5:15. Motion made by Richie, second by Yeager to adopt the agenda as presented. Motion was carried by all 11-0. Hess made motion, second by Richie. Motion to approve May 2nd, 2023 meeting minutes. Motion was carried by all 11-0. Public input, there was none. The Hatton Park Historical Designation Update and Owner Consent. Director Saul introduced Christine Moss, Museum Director, to update the committee on the National Register questionnaire submitted to the State Historical Preservation Office. The Hatton Park State Historical Questionnaire was approved and is eligible to proceed with registering with the National Historical Society. Along with that, we were given to the Wagner grant through State Historical Preservation Office, covering the cost of the consulting writing the nomination for the designation for Hatton Stadium Foundation and Committee. Funding previously approved will no longer be needed. Director Stoll requested that the committee
consider approving the Hatton Park Historical Designation under consent form. Also made the motion, second by Haas, to sign the Hatton Park Historical Designation owner consent form. Motion was carried by all 11-0. Mayor Herder arrived in person at 5:28. Wi-Fi cost breakdown and public approval. Director Saul brought to the committee additional breakdown cost relative to the setup for public Wi-Fi in the parks. Connections have no integration with the city infrastructure, and there would be no compromise of the city's service system. The committee reviewed the Wi-Fi policy. Motion was made by Yeager, second by Migalski to approve the public Wi-Fi policy. Motion carried by all 11-0. Director's report included an agenda packet reviewed by the committee. Newton Blackmore Trail update, slideshow presented by Director Stoll. Robert suggests that Stoll talk to the engineers regarding the connection into the city via Highway 54. She will follow up to see if there's any other options utilizing the shoulder to cross the Embarrass River. Chairman's report, we saw invited Jaeger to speak relating to the Veterans National in Taft Park. All projects have been met over the last 8 years through Veterans Memorial Foundation. Over 600 names still available to add to the memorial. To disperse the funds in the foundation, one of the several is made to the city of New London in the amount of $5,393.83 to be used for the memorial itself, according to the Veteran Memorial Foundation, City of New London agreement. Future agenda items, boat launch overflow project, seasonal wage schedule, special events policy update. Next Park and Rec meeting to be held on Tuesday, July 11th, 2023 at 5:15. There being no further discussion, Migalski moved to make the motion, second and Haas to adjourn meeting at 5:15. Motion is carried by all, 11-0. I would look for council's approval of the owner consent form for Faulkner Heritage Grant recipients to be listed on the State National Register of Historical Places.
Second.
Motion been made by Mr. Beesaw and second by Mr. Hess. Any further discussion? Please cast your ballots.
I,
Dennis? Motion carried by all.
And I would look for the consider approval of the public Wi-Fi policy.
Second.
Motion made by Mr. Beesaw, second by Mr. Dorsey. Any further discussion? Please cast your ballots.
I,
That motion's carried 10-0.
That's all I have.
Thank you, Mr. Beesaw. Planning Commission, Mr. Ritchie, I see you have no meeting. Do you have anything to add? All right, thank you. Moving right along to Economic Development Committee, Mr. Roberts.
Thank you, Your Honor. The New London Economic Development Committee met Tuesday, May 30th, 2023. Meeting was called to order at 5:15. The agenda was approved by all. The minutes were also approved. There was no public comment. 5 students from the New London School District FFA program provided a mock panelist style discussion regarding immigrants' impact on dairy farming. The panelists discussion was to explain different viewpoints, highlighting the student research on the topic. The presentation provided an opportunity to practice in front of an audience, as the students will be competing at the upcoming state FFA convention in June. The committee thanked the students for their presentation and wished them good luck at their competition. Kapitsky provided a presentation highlighting the New London area's chamber's role in tourism and the relationship with the Tourism Commission. The chamber has 4 overlapping focuses, which include providing value to member businesses, promoting economic development, tourism, marketing, and workforce support. Under the tourism umbrella, the chamber is contracted by the Tourism Commission and has dedicated employee working on marketing in the community. Efforts include updating the New London Tourism.com website, promoting events on the Discover Wisconsin and Travel Wisconsin outlets, maintaining the 24/7 Tourism Center, and creating the annual tourism guide. These efforts are financed with the city's room tax and managed by the Tourism Commission. Room tax funds are also used to award grants to nonprofit organizations for marketing of community events. The goal is to attract people into the community and support the Heads and Beds campaign to fill hotels and spend money throughout the community. Thompson led a discussion on placemaking, which is the concept of creating public spaces that people want to visit and create interactive experiences for improving quality of life. Venues can be permanent for a lasting impact or create as a temporary element for a special event. Thompson also talked about the idea of lighter, quicker, cheaper projects, which are simple and cost-effective transformations of an area that could be set up and taken down quickly for different events or focuses. Ideas were discussed regarding the downtown reconstruction project, block parties, and encouraging the community to volunteer and engage in additional opportunities. Committee members were encouraged to think about the topic more for additional discussion at the next meeting. Chamber's director report, Fitzke reported that are active offers to purchase New London Lanes Hilby's building and business, and the building at 310 West North Water Street, building only, currently being leased by MK Flooring. GFL is working on a building expansion at their site on Highway 54. Kurt Dahl has broken ground on his new strip mall located south of his current strip mall at 1200 North Shawano Street. The lease for the pad business at 102 Cook Street ends in June of 2023. Kapitsky and Hurth visited and dropped off business cards at amazing low prices, innovated staffing, Lily Pad, Sherwood Automotive, and the businesses in the office building at 315 Burton Road. The Rhonda Olson Agency, American Family Insurance at 1620 North Shawano Street is now owned and named the Barb Nelson Agency, American Family Insurance. City Administrator report. Fourth, informed the committee that the SC Swiderski has signed the developer's agreement for the riverfront development on Wolf River Avenue. The city will begin work on the utility relocate project needed to make room for the new building. Future agenda items were discussed, and the next committee meeting will be June 27th at 5:15. There was motion to adjourn at 6:25, carried by all. Also in your packet is municipal memo for May and June. That is all I have, Your Honor.
Thank you, Mr. Roberts. Move along. Minutes and reports will be stand as read in your packets. And then we move right along to reports of officers and recent events and announcements to the public. We'll start off with the mayor's report. On the first line, we'll make the appointments to Tourism Commission. That'll stand as read as in your packets. I'll reappoint all 5 members to the Tourism Commission. The next one is subject to council approval, meaning we need a motion, second, and a vote. So that is to the Library and Museum Board. And I would like to appoint Carrie Labar and Lynn Tank to the Library and Museum Board.
Make that motion.
Second. Motion made by Mr. Dorsey, second by Mr. Bisa. Any further discussion? Please cast your ballots.
Aye.
That motion's carried 10-0. The only other thing I have on my agenda is to say thank you and congratulations to all service anniversaries. With that said, we'll move along to City Administrator, Mr. Hurt.
Thank you, Your Honor. Two quick announcements. First of all, I want to welcome and let everybody know that we have replaced our video marketing producer. Trista Taylor started a week and a half ago. And we want to welcome her. She's in the back learning the brand new audio video system that we just installed and we're trained on yesterday. So she's doing pretty good with that. And then secondly, along with the service, we've been getting quite a few phone calls and inquiries about our cable access channel, the New London Access Channel. It is down. It's been down for several months. Keep on getting questions about it. You know, are we offline? Are we not providing the service anymore? Again, there's some technology failure between here and Charter. Charter doesn't think it's on their end. I've kind of proven that it's not on our end, so we're kind of an impasse with that. However, I've been working with Charter to see about upgrading the 23-year-old equipment that we have. There's something going on with that. So their first step is to get an engineer involved and kind of review what would be done to upgrade the transmission equipment here and the receiving equipment on their end and provide a report on that. And at that point in time, the council would consider the funds, whatever that report and the cost comes back at, to look at upgrading our transmission equipment on our end. So we're kind of waiting on that. They did say if we follow through with that upgrade, it could take up to 6 months start to finish. So even if we do upgrade that transmission equipment to get our cable access channel back online, sounds like it's going to be a little bit of a wait yet before we get that going. So it's not that we pulled the plug on our cable access channel. It's just that something's failed and we're reviewing the cost to improve that service. So that's all I have.
Thank you, Mr. Hirth. Move along. Chief of Police, Mr. Schleter.
Thank you, Your Honor. I had 2 anniversaries running below 8 years, and Todd serves in 22 years. And then I just also want to remind everyone with the 4th of July coming up, we'll watch the fireworks or the city fireworks instead of lighting them off yourself. Good rule of thumb is if it leaves the ground, it's illegal and a violation of our ordinance. Also, please take into consideration that you may have a vet living in your area, and that just may cause extra stress or anxiety for them. So please go watch the professionals light them off. Please don't light them off yourself. Thank you.
Thank you, Chief. Director of Public Works, Mr. Garsky.
Thank you, Your Honor. The intersection of Wyman and Wolf River will be closed starting tomorrow morning and lasting until Friday late afternoon. Utility relocation is taking place in that intersection. Please follow the detour routes that are set up. Local traffic only on Wyman Street, with truck traffic being diverted from Beckert to Division to Beacon to Pearl. Also, the sanitary main and water main work on North Water Street will begin the week of July 10th. They anticipate starting at the intersection of Shawano Street and North Water Street. With help, I will be pushing out updates and planned detours on social media, as well as visiting businesses downtown to keep them informed, and the contractor will do as well. Please check in often to our website. With this type of construction, things can change quick. And that is all I have, Your Honor.
Thank you, Mr. Garsky. Director of Parks and Recreation, Mrs. Soul.
Good evening. Thank you, Mayor. Pack a picnic and join us at the 4th of July fireworks inside Hatton Stadium. The gates are going to open at 6:30. The Recreation Department will be having games for the kids, and then we'll be also having a DJ from 6:30 to until the end of the fireworks. So you can join us for that on the 4th of July. And then the Water Carnival is at the Aquatic and Fitness Center Wednesday, July 19th from 1:15 to 4 p.m. There will be games and summer fun, and the splash pad is open. So join Jim down at the Aquatic and Fitness Center for that. And then on Thursday, July 27th, we have a field trip. We're going to the Pollock Water Park in Oshkosh. Stop at our office and give us a call and to sign up for that. Otherwise, we just have a lot of fun activities planned for this summer. So I do encourage, if you haven't already, to check out our summer activity guide. That is posted online at www.newlondonwi.org.
Thank you, Mrs. Soul. It does sound like you guys have a full calendar of fun.
We do.
All right, Utility Manager, Mr. Bassett is out of town, so we do not have a report from him. Next on the agenda is Fire Chief. Mr. Ritchie, do you have a report?
All we got is 2 anniversaries, Chris Yarich, 1 year, and Jocelyn Benerzinski's got 1 year. That's it.
Thank you, sir. Next, we're looking for a motion to adjourn.
Make a motion to adjourn.
Second.
Motion made by Mr. Roberts, second by Mr. Barrington. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried.